Thanks for joining me, MVP. This is Strebo from mutantville.com. Today we've come together to pay homage, to remember one of the great artists to ever work in comics, the art form of sequential illustration, co-creator of the character of Blade, longtime artist on Tomb of Dracula. He did a story recently for the modern, I don't want to say master of horror, Rob Zombie, but horror filmmaker at least. Inside of Rob Zombie's Spookshow International. The man I'm talking about is, of course, Eugene Colan. In my mind, most famous for his run on Tomb of Dracula, which was the seminal horror comic book of the 70s. So as we do this today, let's do it in memory of a great artist, a great man, great family man, amazing storyteller, Mr. Eugene Colan. We're going to take a look at some of his great works. Gio and I had the fortune to meet Gene when he came to the Heroes Convention in Charlotte in 2005. We went to, he was one of the main guests we wanted to talk to and listen to at that convention. We went to several panels where Gene spoke, both on horror, and there was also just one where with he and Marv Wolfman about their great comic Tomb of Dracula. During that time, which they created the character of Blade together, which has gone on to be the basis of very popular movie series. We got to talk to Gene at the con. He's very generous with his time. When he talked about horror films, you know, he talked about actually being inspired more by music than by movies. Of course, he was a big fan of the Universal monster movies like Frankenstein, Dracula, The Creature from the Black Lagoon was another big one. But also, you know, music like Beethoven, Mozart, on and on. Gene even went so far as to do a picture for us. I mean, we actually commissioned him for it, but I mean, he did it at an unbelievably affordable rate. And I would like to share that with you now, but I can't because it's actually it's a prop in the C for Chaos story, and it's actually kind of an important plot point at the moment. So it's really important the way we use it, and I'll share that with you another time. Hopefully on the C for Chaos behind the scenes. So we'll do that then. So I figure we'll take a look at some of Gene's recent works and a glimpse at some of his more popular ones or more well known, and then a look at some of my favorite images from his earlier works. So let's take a look. This is actually an issue of Comic Book Artist where his print for Dracula was featured on the cover. Interesting story, which probably everyone, if you're a Colan fan, you already know, but he based his design for Dracula on the actor Jack Palance, which I always thought was interesting because I just never saw Palance as Dracula. I'm sure if he played the role on TV, he might have at one point, as a matter of fact, but he probably would have done a fantastic job, but I don't know, I just never saw him as Dracula. But I did buy Gene Colan's Dracula, which was based off Jack Palance. So there's a good shot of Gene with his dogs. Great guy. That's pretty much what he looked like at Heroes Con too, except he didn't have the dogs with him. Now the last thing I saw on the shelves that actually had Gene Colan artwork was this run of Spookshow International by Rob Zombie. All with several stories, each issue all written by Rob Zombie, drawn by different artists, but Gene Colan did one of the stories in the first 3 issues. It's called The Return of Screaming Lord Zombie. Gene Colan was always known for his gothic settings. I mean, he really knew how to bring the mood out of those settings, how to keep them dark and creepy and atmospheric, when to use gross out and gore elements, when not to, when to use suggestion. Here's another great sequence from the second part of that story. So there, the shadow of the hanged man on the ground. Pretty gruesome. You can definitely see an EC Comics influence in all of it. Here they are, resurrecting the evil Lord Zombie. Interesting how Rob Zombie had the little mythology made about himself. That's a classic. You'd see this in Colan's old Dracula stories all the time. The flesh reforming like that. It's good stuff. Here he is, screaming Lord Zombie returned. Pretty neat. This thing about Zombie is, you know, he gives a guy like Gene Colan a chance to do something like this. Plus, he was probably a fan of his work on Tomb of Dracula. You just see how atmospheric and how clear the story is told. You don't even have to read the words, the captions, to you can see the whole story unfold right in front of you. Now, Colan, he didn't do any more stories in Rob Zombie's Spookshow, but they did wind up using that shot of screaming Lord Zombie's return for the letters page. And you can see this is back when he was promoting House of a Thousand Corpses, and they were showing off fans dressed up like characters from House of a Thousand Corpses. And Rob Zombie answered the letters page. It's pretty cool. So that's how you know Rob Zombie's a fan, because there's not a ton of money in comic book work like this. Not for a guy like him that's a rock star. I mean, he can work a lot less, do a lot less work to be a rock star, make a lot more money.